The middle class isn't dying. It's already dead. What you're watching is the autopsy. Most people think the middle class is shrinking due to automation, globalization, or millennials wasting money on avocado toast. That's the convenient story. The real truth is darker. The middle class is being deliberately dissolved through an elegant, invisible mechanism. Its victims often cheer the very system draining them. In 1971, a quiet decision in the Oval Office rewired the economic nervous system of the Western world. It planted a slow poison in every paycheck, mortgage, and retirement account. The bill is due now. Open any economics textbook from before 1975. You'll find a simple promise: work harder, produce more, and watch your wages rise in tandem. For a century, that held. From 1948 to 1973, U.S. productivity rose about 97%, and median hourly compensation grew nearly 91%. Almost a perfect match. Produce more, earn more. The deal felt real. Tenet broke. From 1979 onward, productivity grew roughly 65%, yet real hourly compensation for non-supervisory workers rose only about 17%. That gap is the graveyard of middle-class prosperity. 40-plus years of gains vanished into a chasm. Where did the money go? The Economic Policy Institute shows the top 1% captured a massive share of income growth since 1979, while the bottom 90% got far less. If wages had kept pace with productivity, the typical full-time worker today would earn roughly $10,000 more annually. That's a down payment, college tuition, or the difference between comfortable retirement and crises. This echoes a historical parallel few discuss. Victorian England's Engels pause. During the Industrial Revolution, roughly 1780 to 1840, Britain's output exploded, but real wages for ordinary laborers stagnated or even declined for decades. Factory owners grew rich. Workers struggled. Friedrich Engels documented the misery in Manchester. Production saw a red, but gains went elsewhere. We are living through a second Engels pause. It is no accident. The divergence started when U.S. corporations gained easy tools to offshore production, and the economy factories moved abroad, stripping labor of leverage. Stock buybacks became strategy, rewarding shareholders over workers. The split between productivity and wages isn't a mystery, it's a power shift. One side strengthened. The other was gutted. The promised deal was quietly revoked. The deeper mechanism is even more invisible. In the 1730s, economist Richard Cantillon observed that new money doesn't affect everyone equally. It flows unevenly. Early recipients benefit hugely before prices rise. Late recipients pay the tab after inflation hits. Bankers and asset owners win. Savers and wage earners lose. The American middle class has been engineered into the last receiver position for decades. The Federal Reserve creates money via quantitative easing or asset purchases. It flows first to banks, then financial assets, real estate, corporate profits, and only later, if at all, to wages. From 2009 to 2020, the Fed's balance sheet ballooned from under $1 trillion to $7 trillion. Stocks tripled or more. Housing prices in major cities surged 60 to 120%. This looks like wealth creation. It's mostly redistribution. The top 10% own about 87% of stocks and mutual funds. The bottom 50% own almost none. Asset inflation delivers windfalls to the wealthy, while the middle class, whose main assets are their home and labor, faces diluted gains and full costs. Those costs hit essentials hardest: food, energy, healthcare, childcare. Prices rise faster than wages or modest savings returns. This is the Cantillon trap. By the time new money reaches your paycheck or 401k, inflation has already eroded its value. You're at the end of the line, drinking the water after others have quenched their thirst. Data confirms the squeeze. OECD reports show middle-class households in rich countries now devote higher shares of income to housing, healthcare, and education. With thinner financial buffers, confidence that children will fare better has plummeted. Branko Milanovic's elephant curve illustrates it globally. From the late 1980s to 2000s, the global poor and ultra-rich gained, but developed world middle classes gained almost nothing. The elephant's trunk soars for billionaires. Its body sags for everyone else. The collapse feels distinct from old poverty. It's not starvation. It's the three pillars of middle-class life, being repriced as luxuries. Housing. In 1970, the median home cost about 2 to 3 times median household income. Affordable with discipline. By recent years, the ratio has climbed to around 5 times nationally higher in coastal cities, sometimes 10 plus. With elevated mortgage rates, ownership payments hit record shares of income. In many markets, renting became cheaper than buying. The cultural symbol of middle-class stability is slipping away through slow math, not sudden crises. Healthcare. Employer-sponsored family premiums average over $23,000 annually, with employees paying thousands out of e-pocket. Before deductibles or drugs, healthcare's GDP share rose from 5% in 1962, nearly 18% today. That extra burden extracts from wages and benefits. Education. The college wage premium grew sharply, making degrees nearly mandatory for middle-class entry. Yet for years at a public university, once costing about $10,000 in today's dollars, now exceeds $100,000. The credential became essential and 10 times costlier. Middle-class life now means running to stay in place. The pillar stability. Health. Children's future cost more, while incomes lag. Guy Debord described the society of the spectacle, where images of prosperity mask withdrawn substance. We've reached its economic version. The middle class persists as identity and political label, but genuine security and mobility increasingly feel like memory. When wages stopped supporting middle-class living, credit filled the void. Post-World War II to mid-1970s, consumer debt stayed modest, around 40% of disposable income, an accelerant for real earnings. Then wages flattened, credit exploded. Household debt-to-disposable income ratios climbed dramatically, peaking high before the 2008 crisis and remaining elevated. Families didn't get richer. They borrowed against unearned futures. This resembles ancient debt bondage, modernized with interest rates. Average households carry significant debt. Mortgages, student loans often $20,000 plus, auto loans, and credit cards at punitive rates around 20% plus. Debt service turns earnings into a filter work, pay taxes and interest, then live on what's left. As debt grows and wages stagnate, the remainder shrinks while pressure expands. Thomas Piketty's analysis in Capital in the 21st Century captures it. When returns on capital exceed economic growth, inequality compounds naturally. The rich own assets that grow faster than labor income. The middle class, reliant on wages and holding more liabilities than appreciating assets, falls behind just by standing still. The egalitarian post-war era 1930s, 1980s was the historical exception, created by deliberate policies. Progressive taxes, unions, subsidies, regulated finance. Reversing those choices erodes the middle. World Inequality Database. Data shows the bottom 50% held about 4% of U.S. wealth in 1980, dropping to around 2 to 3% recently. The top 1% rose from 22% to nearly 39%. The middle isn't merely squeezed, it's being compressed downward. Slow collapses hide until undeniable, like Roman coins debased year by year until silver flaked off, revealing bronze. Productivity gains were real. Prosperity was real. But the coin of middle-class life was debased via wage suppression, asset inflation captured by the wealthy, and credit substituting for earnings. Pew Research tracks the shift. In 1971, 61% of Americans lived in middle-income households. By 2023, that fell to about 51%. A majority became a minority in roughly 50 years. Many who left didn't climb upward, roughly equal numbers slid down. You may have thought the middle class faded due to uncontrollable forces. The mechanisms were specific. Offshoring, financialization, monetary policy, favoring asset owners, and policy reversals. Timing aligned with power shifts. Those first in the money creation chain understood the dynamics. The question isn't only whether the middle class survives, but whether the system prioritizes it. Every civilization decides what it owes its backbone craftsmen. Small merchants, skilled workers. Rome chose one path. The Gilded Age another. Post-war. West another. We are choosing now, through legislation passed or blocked, unions formed or not, and families quietly abandoning dreams when numbers don't add up. History will record the decision. The deeper issue is whether we made it or whether it was made for us.